This is the KhoodeelaarTVChannel television channel being broadcast on the internet under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo Editions. This is Tuesday the 2nd. This is the GMT time, so this edition is timed at 23:40 hours GMT on Tuesday the 2nd of January 2024. But the first day of the week of the new year, that is beyond the holidays. So this has been the first day of the no respect investigate the Tesco is grotesque, corrupt, disrespectful, insulting to customers. On top of that, Tesco is incompetent, inefficient, and as most of its staff at the level where they interact with customers, most of them are ill-trained and stupid, lack rationality, logic, most certainly common sense. One of the things that Tesco does is overplay, overstate the benefits of its club card trap. And the club card is not always accessible, and they don't send it in the plastic form by post to the customer who accepts, takes the lure, and buys into the club card. Once the club card is subscribed to, it becomes reasonable of the customers to which means that it has got interaction with ordinary customers, with the largest number of customers in the country. In other words, every single idiocy, every single insult, every single incompetence and lie perpetrated by a Tesco staff is added to the total amount of detriment, hurt suffered by the people. In good there cannot be any logic, any reasonableness in the behavior. For example, if you want to use the temptation of the club card benefits for purchase, say for the purchase for the topping up of the mobile charges, you give the money to the counter staff. So the same club card points system should operate across all the Tesco stores, especially when the purchase is made by payment. with this investigation and update in due course. Now, going back to the Press Complaints Commission that used to be before the Levison inquiry, there used to be a thing called the Press Complaints Commission. The Press Complaints Commission was there in existence for several decades in various forms. And the Press Complaints Commission was supposedly in existence to give readers of the newspapers, printed papers in Britain, access to remedies against inaccuracies, wrongdoing, malicious contents, etc., etc., etc. But the Press Complaints Commission was an insult. When the secretary, chief executive, whatever, of the Press Complaints Commission, the last one that I had direct contact with, who used to be a secretary of the National Union of Journalists, where I was a member while he was in post in the 70s. When he went to become an appointed executive at the Press Complaints Commission, I obviously continued my ongoing complaints against various newspapers. And in an answer that, in a reply that this one sent to me, he actually added to a typewritten reply a personal note saying, Muhammad, this, as if he's addressing me as a mate at the National Union of Journalists. Diminished the extent of the aggravation that I was complaining about. Something Morgan, I'll come to that in a minute if I can access the information. And then so this character was called Ken Morgan. Independent tribute on 11 September 2015. And so this is a NUJ picture the Independent is running. To Morgan is the Ken Morgan twice led major media organizations when the industry was going through changes, which would have heralded a huge shakeup in ownership and working practices, as well as battles for press freedom. He was General Secretary of the NUJ, with its rather volatile and sometimes difficult membership. During the turbulent 1970s, as sought more power, as unions sought more power in the workplace, and he was director of the Press Complaints Commission, of course. It says Ken Morgan, union leader who guided the NUJ through turbulent times before becoming the Press Council's first head. So it was the Press Council changing, as I said, the name from Press Complaints Commission. So when he was in the Press Council, Morgan played a typically corrupt, opportunistic careerist role. The result was that the Levison inquiry was brought about as a necessary attempt at covering up the defects that existed in the behavior of the press and the absence of the accountability. So Ken Morgan failed as the Press Council director, as had his predecessors, and as had Morgan failed in the role at the NUJ, whatever in the NUJ's in-house magazine, then edited by Tim Gopsil, prepared a one-page profile on me in the 1980s. Tim Gopsil had headlined the profile as calling me a messiah. But I told Gopsil not to run that profile of me in the NUJ's in-house publication because it was completely untrue, untruthful, hocus pocus, full of rubbish. So this is my ethics and morality. I have always been opposed to propaganda and peddling of kind of images of me. As I said in the 1960s, in 1968, in fact, in Dhaka, in today's Bangladesh, but that was East Pakistan in 1968, I was photographed as leading the 1,000-strong demonstration against the Zionist attacks on the Palestinians at that time, that picture would have hit the whole world media. But I stopped it. I stopped it because such a prominent photograph of me would have really alarmed my parents, both of them. They didn't want me to be politically active. So, for their sakes, I stopped whoever would have circulated the picture to the news agencies and news organizations in 1968. Other people would have given their back teeth to have such prominent picture of themselves on the front pages of news organizations everywhere. I have been doing the opposite. Now, one of the predecessors of the Levison inquiry was an investigation by McGregor into the state of journalism in Britain. The McGregor report, very much similar to the Scarman report about the Brixton so-called riots, similar to the report into the murder of Stephen Lawrence, similar to other similar reports, but they are of no substance at all. The fact that I'm able to detail those fake investigations and inquiries shows that I have been actively engaged in observing those fakeries and lies and lying. And that I have been at the forefront of the ones demanding the truthful admission by the British press and media of the lies that they perpetrate, the lies that they tell. One in 1988-89, there was a demonstration near the Penguin headquarters at that time in London, West London, against Satan Rushdie. I noticed the tiny Indian Bengali, Amit Roy. He's about 3 feet tall. Well, I'm exaggerating, but he's not far taller than 3 feet. So when I saw him, the maximum that I wanted to say to him was ask a question as to why did he keep lying about Muslims in the pieces that the Telegraph allowed him to write. But a white individual guarding him became extra sensitive and stood between me and Amit Roy in somewhere in Fulham and said words to the effect that I should leave him alone. I had no intention of physically contacting him. All I had intended to do was to ask him why he, Amit Roy, kept publishing lies against Muslims in the Telegraph. So you can see that there is no culture of accountability, no culture of even accessing any accountability. Amit Roy obviously was provided a white bodyguard, at a demonstration against Satan Rushdie by the owners of the Telegraph, in the clear knowledge that he would be the target, some target of comments by Muslims who would recognize him. I must have been the only Muslim there who recognized Amit Roy physically and in terms of the record. But as I said, I had no intention of physically contacting him. The maximum I would have done is to ask him an rigorous question as to why he kept writing absolute packs of lies against Muslims in the Telegraph papers. But I was distracted by this white bodyguard who was as stupid as the racists are likely to be. And Amit Roy has remained, one way or the other, connected with the Telegraphs and has not withdrawn his lies against Muslims. Employees and agents of the Western British. I shall be continuing on this one and going back to the Tesco and Sainsbury's lies, little lies and racism and hostility in due course. Technical issues are causing interruptions to this broadcast.